I told my sister I wouldn't watch her kids anymore. Now my family says I abandoned her when she needed me the most. Am I the a-hole? Well, let's see about that first. Let's get a little more context, huh? Let's jump into it.
The Bearded Take with Ethan X.
So I, 30 male, have a sister, 27 female, who's a single mom to two kids, 5 and 3. Their dad is not in the picture at all, like completely gone. No child support, nothing. So yeah, she's been doing it on her own, and I'll give her credit for that. About a year ago, she got a new job that required weird hours, some early mornings, some late evenings. She couldn't afford consistent childcare, so she asked if I could help her out once in a while. Emphasis on once in a while. I said yes. At first, it was really just once in a while, maybe once or twice a week. A few hours here and there, no big deal. That honestly doesn't sound bad. But slowly, it started becoming more. And I don't mean gradually, I mean noticeably more. It turned into 3 to 4 days a week, then entire weekends, then overnights. There were weeks where I had her kids more than she did. And I never asked for money, not because I'm a saint, I just figured she's struggling. They're my niece and nephew, I'll help out. But it started affecting my life. I had to cancel plans, I stopped going to the gym, I passed on dating because I couldn't reliably commit to anything. Friends would invite me out and I'd have to say, I think I'm watching the kids that night. Think. Because half the time, she wouldn't even ask anymore. She would just text, hey, dropping the kids off in 20, or worse, already on my way. No question, no warning, just assumed. I tried bringing it up gently a few times, like, hey, can you give me more notice, or I can't always be available like this? She'd apologize in the moment, say she understood, and then do the exact same thing the next week. The breaking point happened 2 weeks ago. I had a date planned, first one in months. I was actually excited about it. She texted me that afternoon, hey, I need you tonight. I told her I couldn't, I already had plans, and she didn't respond. About an hour later, I hear a knock on my door. It's her kids, standing there with backpacks, and she's already gone. She didn't even wait. I called her immediately, and she just said, I'm already at work. I can't turn around. I need you. I told her this wasn't okay, that I had plans and that she can't just drop them off like that. And she said, so what? You're just going to leave them alone? And yeah, obviously I'm not going to do that, so I stayed and canceled the date again. The next morning, I told her we needed to talk. I told her I love the kids, I'll always be there in emergencies, but I can't keep being her default childcare. I said from now on, I need at least 24 hours notice, and I'm not guaranteeing availability. She got really quiet. Then she said, I thought you cared about them. I told her I do, but that doesn't mean I give up my entire life. And that's when she snapped. She said, you're a single guy with no responsibilities. I'm drowning and you're worried about your dating life? That one hit, because she's not entirely wrong, but also this wasn't what I signed up for. Since then, she's barely spoken to me, but my parents got involved and they are not on my side. My mom told me I'm being selfish and that family helps family. My dad said I needed to step up because those kids need stability. Apparently, my sister told them she might lose her job now because she doesn't have reliable childcare anymore. Now I'm getting texts like, hope you're happy, she was counting on you, this is what family is for. And here's the part that's messing with me. I know she's struggling. I know those kids didn't ask for any of this. And I know me stepping back makes her life harder. But at the same time, I feel like I've already given a year of my life trying to help, and it's slowly turned into something I never agreed to. She texted me this morning for the first time in days. All it said was, don't worry, I figured something else out. No explanation, nothing. And I don't know if I should feel relieved or like I just got replaced. So am I the a-hole for setting boundaries even if it means she might struggle without me? So I just want to know what kind of job she had where she didn't know her schedule until she knew her schedule and then gave her brother like a moment's notice, because it really felt like that's pretty much what it had evolved into. Like maybe there was a little bit of notice to begin with, and then all of a sudden it was just like no notice whatsoever. Hey, I'm dropping the kids off. Like she just expected him to be home and ready all the time for free, and then holding it over his head and acting like he doesn't care about his niece and nephew. Entitled much? And he clearly cares, but like also we all have different things or multiple things going on in our lives. Like, how can you just expect him to just be available at a moment's notice like that? What do you do for a job that you don't know your schedule? Even if you work a job where you're on call, there's an on call schedule normally. Like, there would be something that you can give some sort of heads up so that your brother, who is 3 years older than you, can still have a dating life. Because, you know what, God forbid you struggle and you're a single mom for whatever reason, no judgment per se. But then that also means that your brother isn't allowed to have a dating life. And what about grandma and grandpa? Like, they're not hesitating to judge him, but are they helping out? Are they willing to do anything to help? What is going on there? But there's an update. So before I blow a gasket, let's read the update. All right, so the initial story finished off with a text from the sister that said, "Don't worry, I figured something else out," with no explanation. So now the final update. All right. I genuinely don't even know how to process what just happened, but here it is. After my sister sent that "I figured something else out" text, we didn't talk for a few days. Things were tense, but quiet. Then yesterday I got a call from my mom. She sounded panicked. She told me my sister got into a huge argument with her new childcare solution and that I needed to come over immediately. I almost didn't go, but something in her voice made me get to the car. When I got there, it was chaos. My sister's apartment door was open, and I could hear yelling from inside. When I walked in, there was a woman I'd never seen before standing in the living room holding one of the kids while my sister was screaming at her to get out. Turns out the solution she figured out was hiring someone off a local Facebook group. No background check, no references, nothing. Just someone who said they were great with kids and available cheap. Apparently, this woman had been watching the kids for a few days already, and that morning, my sister came home early from work and found her going through the drawers in the bedroom. Not just like cleaning or something, like actually digging through her stuff. My sister lost it, told her to leave, and the woman refused at first, saying she hadn't been paid yet for the week. That's the argument that I walked into. Eventually, the woman left, but not before yelling that she was going to come back with someone else if she didn't get paid. So yeah, now my sister is shaken, the kids are crying, and my parents are looking at me like this is why she needed you. And I'll be honest, for a second, I felt it. The guilt hit really hard, because if I had just kept helping, maybe she wouldn't have ended up in that situation. But then it got worse. While we were trying to calm everything down, my sister started venting, crying, pacing, saying she didn't know what to do. And then she said something that completely flipped everything again. She admitted that she didn't really try to find proper childcare. She said most of the legit options were too expensive or had wait lists, and she didn't feel like jumping through hoops, so she just went with the quickest, cheapest option she could. My dad asked her why she didn't just ask for them to help covering a real daycare. And she just shrugged and said, "Because I had him," and pointed at me. Like that was the plan all along. Not temporary help, not until I figure things out, just me, indefinitely. That's when something in me just shut off. Because all the guilt I felt a minute earlier was gone. I told her straight up, I was helping you. You turned it into a backup plan so you didn't have to figure anything else out. She tried to argue. She said she's overwhelmed, said I don't understand what it's like, and I told her she's right, I don't. But I also said, it doesn't mean I owe you my entire life. My mom started crying. My dad told me to take it easy, but I just grabbed my keys and left. About an hour later, my sister texted me. Not an apology. Not even about what happened, just, I hope you're proud of yourself. And here's the part that's probably going to sound cold. I didn't feel guilty reading that. For the first time this entire situation, I just felt done. My parents are still pushing me to be there for her right now, especially after what happened with the babysitter. But I told them that if they're that concerned, they can step in, and now they're quiet. So yeah, that's where things stand. My sister's situation is messy. The kids are caught in the middle, and I'm the bad guy in half my family's eyes. But at this point, I don't think there was ever a version of this where I wasn't. I mean, look, at this point, I am like completely on the OP's side. And the fact that he was feeling guilty even a little bit for a short while, I think says a lot because he clearly cares and he was doing everything that he could within reason to help his sister. Why is it that nobody else was offering to step up? Why were they throwing all of the responsibility on his shoulders when it wasn't just his responsibility? And look, I don't know what the parents do for a living, but you can't tell me that they weren't able to help out just a little bit, especially amongst all of the crazy, because the OP became a full-time babysitter before he could even process everything that was happening. And somehow, after all of that, it even sounded like maybe, just maybe, if she couldn't afford proper childcare, that the parents could have offered to at least pay for it. Something. So, no, my take is that you're not the a-hole. It's not your responsibility to be full-time, on-call childcare for your niece and nephew just because your sister, who's 3 years younger than you, is in a tough spot. I think you did the noble thing, and you covered as much as you could for as long as you could, and then you finally decided enough is enough. I need to set a boundary and stop feeling like I'm being taken advantage of. Because she was 100% taking advantage of you, and the parents were encouraging it. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I don't know why or how she ended up as a single mom. Why are we acting like we're picking favorites to begin with? Because they're absolutely picking favorites with her by making you way more responsible for this than you should be. But why are we picking favorites with the woman who somehow found herself as a single mom? Not trying to be too judgmental there. I know there's lots of different reasons for why we could end up in that situation, but how did she become the favorite in all of this? It's gonna make me sound like an a-hole, but sorry, not sorry. That's my take. I would love to know your take in the comments down below. Thanks for tuning in.